Hello, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Transforming Corrections, Maximizing Safety and Efficiency with Utilities Universe of Technology Solutions. I'm Casey Ann Brown, Digital Media Specialist with Utility for over 2.5 years, and I'm here to moderate today's exciting webinar on behalf of Utility Inc. team. And so I'll tell you a little bit about Utility. Utility is the innovative technology company that continually delivers a universe of solutions for frontline professions that depend on speed, accuracy, easy to access data, and transparency in their work. Before we dive into things, I'd like to share some helpful information with you. Today's webinar is hosted on the GoToWebinar platform with all attendees in listen-only mode. Should you lose internet connection at any time during today's webinar, please dial in using the phone number and access codes seen on this slide. This information is also provided in your webinar reminder email, just in case. In order to get the maximum value out of today's discussion, we invite you to submit your questions to our panel of experts at any time. If we can't get to them during the current segment, we will certainly address them during the Q&A segment at the end of the webinar or reach out to you personally after the webinar is through. In today's webinar, our panel of industry experts will provide you with their unique perspectives on specific safety and efficiency challenges faced by corrections facilities, effective strategies to overcome those challenges, and the role Utilities Universe of Solutions play in enhancing safety and efficiency in the corrections space. So let's begin today's informative discussion by introducing our webinar panel. In addition to myself, I'm joined by our product manager, Suzanne Smith from the Utility Inc. team, who will provide a wealth of knowledge on our technology and how it's impacting the corrections space. Susan, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So happy that you're here. My name is Susan Smith, and I am part of the Utility Product Management team. My particular areas of focus include our software and the platform that's used by Utility to assist in this space. But I also have enough knowledge to be dangerous on the other components in our portfolio. So glad to be here and talk with you guys today.
Super. All right, and also joining us today are our esteemed panel of law enforcement experts. Sheriff Anthony Harris, could you start by giving our audience an information on your background?
Yeah, thank you, Casey Ann. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheriff Tony Harris. I've been with the Sheriff's Office of Boone County for 29 years now. I've held the ranks of Deputy, Sergeant, Captain, Major, Colonel, and Chief Deputy. As the Chief Deputy, one of my core duties was over Enforcement Division. So I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you, Sheriff Harris, for being with us. Jail Division and Commander Tim Turner.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Captain Tim Turner. I'm the jail commander, have been for the last 7 years. Been with the Sheriff's Department for just a little bit over 8.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim Turner, Commander Tim Turner, for joining us today. And last but certainly not least, we have Sheriff Jeff Siegel joining us via audio. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Sheriff.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheriff Jeff Siegel, Elkhart County, Indiana. I have been with the Sheriff's Office now for just starting my 34th year, almost as long as Casey's been around. I have served as patrol officer, undercover officer, but the majority of my career was spent as the commander of the Criminal Investigations Division. And subsequently, I'm in my second term of sheriff, so about 1,000 days to go, and I will be looking at retiring. So it's great to be here today and look forward to some great dialogue.
All right. Thank you all for joining us for this important discussion today. We want to start things off by engaging you, our viewers. We are going to see a question pop up on your screen shortly that we would like to have you all answer. So our first poll question is, does your organization use body cameras today for your facility officers/guards? Yes or no? So we'll be launching that poll right now, and we will look forward to seeing your answers. All right, we'll be closing the poll in 5 seconds. Perfect. And now the results. It looks like 67% of attendees responded yes, and 33% of attendees responded no. Thank you all for responding in this poll. I'm going to start by asking Susan, what are your thoughts on these results that we've gotten?
Surprised but not surprised. How about that? I am thrilled to see that some of our attendees are taking advantage of having a body camera on those that are inmate facing and working within their facility. And for those that have not yet taken the plunge, I hope that what we discuss with you today and the information that you glean from our panelist of experts will encourage you to go ahead and move forward with something like that.
All right, perfect. And with that, I'll allow Susan to take it away with her overview of the utility universe of solutions.
Sure. So Casey, and you can just go ahead and pop to the next slide. That'll be just fine. So with utility, we have what we call a universe of solutions. And within that, we have the ability to focus on the correction space. This particular solution set spans from the officer all the way through to the facility cameras and technologies within, all being able to be seen through a single pane of glass. So you might ask, why does this even matter? The first priority, of course, as we all know, is safety. Safety for your officers and safety for your inmate population. And having access to a system that offers life-saving capabilities and alerts with real-time streaming can really make those seconds count. Not to mention, you all are faced with liability situations and potentially false claims being brought upon you by inmates with their interactions with your officers or your staff members, etc. And being able to use the footage from a body camera that has actual audio to it provides a true view of what that incident really entailed. So it can really help in twofold. It can assist with false claims not even being made because the inmates know that a body camera is being used by the officer that they're interacting with. And it can also be used to review footage should a claim be made to actually find out what happened from an unbiased source. And then the primary integration of all this into one system helps you then take that information and be able to do something with it and use some efficiency mechanisms that are included in that platform system to be able to do that. For example, you might have footage come in and you're able to review the incident and find that something needs to be done with it or it needs to move forward with an investigation. You have that available to you through the system and some tools within the system to enable you not just to view it, but to be able to start to prepare it should you have to move it through for possibly, prosecution or attorney interaction. So it really does assist with having a solution that really is quite robust. Additionally, being able to view footage coming in, whether it be from your body cameras or your IP-based facility cameras, enables you as command staff to be able to review what's going on and use that from a training perspective for your officers, from actual incidents and activities that have happened. And it's not just about correcting an officer action, it can also be used to give someone a kudo for doing a good job based on whatever incident they may have faced at the time. So what you're seeing here is it's just a quick view of what you have available to you from utility to help create a very holistic solution for a corrections environment. Now, some of these things that you're seeing here, you know, it stems from a body camera, from an EOS device. It stems from IP-based camera view being pulled in from our Titan capabilities, and then you'll see Rocket here. And what Rocket does, it's our communications device, and that allows us to not just hold steady within the corrections facility itself, but also be able to put in vehicle cameras and communications devices that enable live streaming and GPS location in your transport vehicles. So all of this feeds into our cloud-based platform, which is Polaris, which enables you then to take action on that particular footage and or be able to live stream into the utility provided devices to be able to see what's going on at the time of recording. So it's a pretty intense and robust capabilities that utility brings. Casey, you want to go ahead and pop to the next slide for me? So this is just an overarching view. It's meant to give you a bit of perspective of what we just talked about and how things all work together. So the utility ecosystem, it's been purposefully interconnected to enable facilities like a corrections facility to be able to not only just collect information, but then to access it and manage it as well. So again, it's bringing in, you know, your IP cameras from your facility. It's bringing in your body cameras. If you were to invest additionally in camera systems for your transport vehicles, it brings that in as well. Our body cameras and Rocket system also uses a SIM card capability. So if you have officers and transport vehicles, you know, on and off your facility, you can have access to where those are, what's going on, etc., all through Polaris itself. So it's a pretty expansive capability at your fingertips with a large ecosystem of solutions available to you. So once the information is captured by one of the cameras or being viewed by one of the cameras, you have the ability to do something with it beyond that. So this can include, you know, being able to redact information. It can offer you the ability to transcribe a conversation that occurred in that footage, etc. But beyond just those in-app capabilities, there are some alert mechanisms that are also put in place within our body camera itself that really are meaningful and really impactful for the situations that your officers may find themselves in from time to time. The main one being our officer down alert capability. So when wearing one of our body cameras, should an officer find themselves in the prone position or say they're in a scuffle and they get knocked down or something even worse, if they stay in that prone position for a certain amount of time, then the officer down alert will sound off of their body camera and tell them that that alert is about to be sent to command staff through Polaris to notify the corrections facility system-wide that there is an officer down. If the officer happens to be knocked unconscious and that officer down alert does set off, the beauty of our system is that you can now live stream through that camera to see Is this officer really down? What's going on around this particular officer? As you know, staff is coming to their aid. So you have a very real-time view of what is going on. So it's extremely helpful because, as we all know, seconds count in some of these situations that can go critical in a very quick manner. The same goes for that live streaming capability through our in-vehicle video system. Once that video system is recording, and it can even be trigger-based, that sets off a recording, you have the ability to live stream in through that camera to actually see in real time what is happening. It's a really nice mechanism for those in the command seat to be able to better instruct those as to what to do next and how to operate moving forward. This brings me to, I mentioned the alerts, this brings me to the automation piece. Our utility system offers the ability to automate recordings. And why would we do that? Well, in the time of a critical situation, guess what? The last thing you want your officers to have to remember is to press a button to start a recording. And at Utility, we believe that you should never ask an officer to do what technology can do for them, making their jobs easier, making their ability to go home to their family and have a safer experience as much as possible. So being able to automate that recording, you know, whether it be an officer down, whether it be an officer running that will trigger a recording, whatever those automated triggers are that you need at your facility, that is something that we pay special attention to ensure that we get your folks home safely every night. All right, Casey, you want to pop to the next slide for me? All right, so this is just a quick view of what our Polaris system may look like that the corrections crew may be interacting with. What you'll see here is the system is a roles and privilege based cloud platform. So what does that mean? That means that you as a correction facility get to identify what roles you want your users to have with the platform, and then what you want them to be able to access and to do within the platform. So once you're able to identify that, you have the freedom to create those roles as you need them to be and have the access levels at the levels you need them to be at. There is also the ability to identify, you know, certain types of evidence classification, which comes with the ability for you to customize your retention cycle. Every state is different on what they require from a retention standpoint for footage and potential evidence. So this gives you the customization capability to be able to adjust that as you deem appropriate. With regards to what you see at the top picture of this screen, this is our case view. So when footage comes into our platform from your body camera, or if you happen to have one of our in-vehicle video camera systems, that is automatically uploaded into the cloud as it starts recording, so you don't have to bring back and dock it, etc. Once that is in the system, you have the ability to quote unquote organize your information using a case structure. And you'll see here there's quite a bit of information. You can create a folder structure for further organization. But what I also want to share with you is you'll notice there's a restricted term in the title. Our system also has the ability for those who have the privilege to create a restricted case. So if you have an internal investigation going on and you are collecting information and you want to hold it secure so that it has minimal eyes upon it, this is the way that you can do that. And you as the case owner get to decide which individuals precisely have access to that. Additionally, this lower level here, you'll notice it's called a live screen. Up top on that particular image, you'll see the word live. So any IP cameras that are brought into the Polaris system, you have access to view them directly from the platform. And then with that, you have the ability to play back. If you wanted to see something at a set day and time, you also have the ability to clip portions of the footage if they seem to be something that you need to keep potential for evidence. So this would then be treated just like any other body camera footage or anything coming in, and you get to treat it as that and apply it to a case or whatever you need to. All right. So all of this, that's a lot going on in the system, right? One of the additional components that's extremely important is that whole chain of custody. Our system tracks every bit of action towards any type of footage or file, any type of case activity. It tracks who did it, when they did it, what they did to it, right down to even the IP address of the device that they used when they did it. Why is this important? Well, when you're talking about potential evidence that you may need to share with an attorney or with a prosecutor, they're going to want to know that who did what and when, and that particular evidence wasn't tampered with. And this gives you an audit log that enables you to provide that information over to them to show them what all occurred. So it's a pretty intense and robust system that enables you to do a variety of things with it. Additionally, what we talk about sharing things out, you know, sometimes you guys do have to do that with the footage that you have. And the system also provides you the ability to share from a secure manner to an external recipient, which also tracks in the chain of custody down to the download point when they download the information. So again, everything, one pane of glass, offering you just quite the variety of capability, truly focused on safety, reliability, reducing false claims, helping you help your officers make a difference and come home safely. So next slide, Casey. All right. Now this is a bit of an eye chart. I apologize, and I'm not going to go through everything. It's just a quick overview of some of the things that we talked about. Some of the main ones I definitely wanted to reiterate was an issue faced. Maybe you don't have a centralized platform where all of your information comes in, and you're having to quote unquote swivel chair. Well, the beauty of the utility solution is it provides you with a robust platform that's your single pane of glass for all of your collected information, their analysis, and the management thereof. Additionally, it's talking about officer safety, you know, being able to do that live stream when it's recording, being able to use that officer down alert and other automated recording triggers to help them be able to record the incident without even having to press a button. It's just all about keeping them safe and collecting an unbiased view of the incident that may have happened. Furthermore, you've got your case file management, your just file management in general, all provided to you as part of the solution, and being able to include additional documentation. Maybe you have some reports that are part of your investigation. You can include those and upload those into the case as well. And then, of course, being able to set the retention time frame on the management of evidence as you need it to be. So I've talked about a lot. I've been, you know, talking quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and let Casey move on to our next segment here.
All right, Susan, thank you so much for that wealth of information and that overview of our technology and its applications. if you have any questions today, definitely leave it in the questions bar, or we can definitely address it in our Q&A segment at the end. So I know that Susan just shared quite a lot of information, so if you have a question, we'll definitely address it later down the road. All right, so switching gears a bit, we'll now invite our panel of law enforcement experts to share their information about their agency and their experience with the technology in the field. So we'll start with Elkhart County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Siegel, could you tell us a bit about your agency at Elkhart County Sheriff's Office?
Oh yeah, thank you. Elkhart County is located in north central Indiana. We are right on the Michigan border, and we have a 1,024 bed jail that is staffed with just a little over 100 corrections officers. Actually, our staffing is looking up, so that's praise for those of us in the correctional world. We have had body cameras in the jail for, probably 10 years. Our original product, we made the mistake of just getting a few cameras with the intentions of officers sharing those cameras, and subsequently have gone to utility, and every officer in the correctional facility is now issued their own camera.
All right, thank you, Sheriff Siegel. And so I'll go ahead and switch over to our next agency here, Boone County Sheriff's Office. So Sheriff Harris, could you also give our audience information about your facility as well?
Sure. Our facility, our current jail was built in 1992, and when it was originally built, it would hold 182 inmates. Boone County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. We're just north of Marion County. And with that being said, that jail expansion's in the process of being expanded so that we can hold more inmates inside our facility. We currently have 29 corrections officers, but are working with our council to get more of those. And through this jail project, we will be getting more. The reason we actually had body cameras, we had a body camera provider before utility, but going back to what was said earlier, one of the really big things that brought us to utility is the officer down feature. And as sheriffs, we all know that number one liability we have, and if it's our liability, it's the county's liability, it's the jail. And being able to have the cameras inside the facility on our officers, just like on the street, in that continuity of care of using the same company inside the jail as on the street, just made sense to us.
Thank you, Sheriff Harris. Before you share your agency's use case, I'd like to pause and invite our audience to tell us how they are currently using their technology in this upcoming poll. How does your organization currently analyze and manage camera footage? That is body camera footage, transport vehicle, CCTV. Do you store and view footage from another cloud system that includes analysis tools? Do you store and view footage in one cloud system and analyze it using a different program? Do you store and view the footage from an on-prem server and analyze it using a different program? Or do you store and view the footage from an on-premise server and you don't use any analysis tools? We'll be shortly launching that poll, so I'd love to hear your answers in just one moment. All right, we'll be closing the poll in about 5 seconds. Okay, thank you everyone for sharing your opinion in this quick poll. And here are the results. It seems like 67% of you have gone with our option in one cloud system and you analyze it with other tools. Interesting. Sheriff Harris, are these results in line with your expectations?
For the most part, we actually use the cloud too, only because we're able to store that data for a longer time. With the inmates coming in and out, they, he said, she said, and then once leaving our facility, they say something went wrong and we try to hold it for 2 years. That's really expensive at this point, and we're trying to look at different options for our county in order to store that. But at this, we're doing basically the same thing as others.
All right, thanks for that perspective. All right, and then we'll just go ahead and move along into our challenges segment. So Sheriff Harris and Jail Commander Turner, can you share the challenges your agency was facing before you decided to explore utilities solutions? I know you touched on it briefly, but if you could share a little bit more information with our audience today.
Go ahead, Tim.
I think that, well, we've had body cameras on our corrections officers prior to them, like the sheriff said, prior to them even being on road deputies. I think probably storage, and once they moved everybody to road as well as corrections, having one platform and one camera and one cloud storage, it just made sense, and monetarily, and just the ease of being able to pull video and access to one platform.
I also go back to what you were talking about earlier, with the body worn camera system and the officer down function. Not only is that invaluable on the street, but it also is in the jail in case a corrections officer is in a part that they're not with somebody else, and we would instantly know that as well inside the facility.
Sheriff Siegel, what are your thoughts on the challenges that Boone County Sheriff's Office was facing, and did your agency also face any similar challenges?
I would say our challenges were somewhat similar, but we equipped our road officers with body cameras well before we did our corrections staff. But we've been, for the past couple of years, trying to do a bit of a paradigm shift with our corrections staff to try to get them to look at their day-to-day tasks more like a patrol officer would. So they're not just coming in and feeding inmates and checking cells and booking people in. We try to get them into the mindset of, every day they're going through those wards, they're patrolling the facility. They need to be looking for inmate violations, any sort of issues with trafficking, policy violations. That's where these body cameras are really important, because when they have any interaction with inmates, our policy is they are to utilize their camera. Of course, that's a topic that's an ongoing training. We don't use these cameras as Big Brother, and I think part of this comes from my years of criminal investigations, but trying to change that mindset to look at that camera as an evidentiary tool, so we can provide better cases and we can keep our officers safe, our inmates safe, our vendor staff safe. So, there's really so many benefits to this. I could probably ramble on for quite a while.
All right, thank you, Sheriff, for that insight. So I think this next segment should be pretty easy then for you. Thinking back, can you recall how you came across Utility Inc. and what factors led your agency to choose our solutions over other options available?
I do vividly remember my first interactions with Utility. Even though I am a sheriff, I am still active in our Indiana Association of Chiefs of Police. And Utility was at the vendor show for the Chiefs Conference. We saw the equipment, saw what they offered for in-car, and I love the fact that this is a camera that can't get knocked off my shirt. I love that this thing is concealed, and from then on, we pretty much knew Utility was going to be the company we were going to use.
Thanks, Sheriff Siegel. Sheriff Harris, Jail Commander Turner, posing the same question to you. How were you introduced to Utility, and what factors led your agency to choose us over the other options available on the market?
We've actually had Utility in our facility for, I believe, about 5 years now. I was elected sheriff in 2022 and I took office in 2023. So we were already working with utility. And again, when Tim and I researched it after the former sheriff, it's what's worked for us all this time. And like Sheriff Siegel said, I mean, it's hard to knock that body camera off the officer itself. But again, I go back to what you folks said and the technology you have if that officer goes down, the safety and security of the facility and the officers and everybody involved with it. And then on top of that, just the sheer liability of running a jail.
Thank you, Sheriff Harris, for that insight. I'm glad our technology was able to assist both of your agencies overcome these challenges and improve safety and efficiency at your facilities. Before we conclude this segment, we'd like to have our audience share their experience with our panel with one final poll question. How does your organization currently share data/evidence? Example, prosecutor's office. Do you provide a thumb drive/DVD? Do you email the footage? Both? None of the above? What are your thoughts on that? We'll go ahead and launch the poll and then we'll discuss. All right, we'll be closing the poll in 5 seconds. All right, super. And so our results are in with 60% saying both and not too far behind, 40% saying they provide a thumb drive/DVD. Okay, Sheriff Siegel, what are your thoughts on these results? Did they surprise you in any way?
No, not really, because I think so many variables come into play when you provide information to either other agencies or prosecutors. I think it can depend on, what systems do they have in place. So I think you got to just be flexible, and I think that this product offers that. We also are transitioning to using the utility product in our interview room. And primarily we try to use email. We're a paperless organization, but we'll deliver it however the requester would like it delivered.
All right. And Sheriff Siegel, just kind of piggybacking off of that, can you share how your team uses our technology to capture and share data at your agency then versus now? I know that you said you're completely, trying to be paper-free, but if you could give
Sure.
if you could give our audience some background on where you're coming from, where you are with utility technology.
Well, over my 34 years, we obviously were heavily paper for most of those years. I lost my train of thought there. I apologize.
It's okay.
Can you ask me that again?
Can you share how your team uses utility technology to capture and share data at your agency? In the past, what were you using to capture and analyze the data, and what are you using presently?
Sure, perfect. One thing I do like about the utility system is it constantly uploads. The old body camera system we had, an officer would work his shift or part of a shift, then he would have to go to a location, dock the camera, wait for the upload. So sometimes you would wait, seemingly too long to get video evidence that you wanted to review. Whereas now, I can sit at my desk, remote into an officer's camera. He can walk me through a crime scene, through a crash scene. And that's just technology that I actually never thought I'd see in my career, but it's a great tool to have.
Thanks, Sheriff Siegel. Suzanne, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about how Elkhart County Sheriff's Office is using our technology. And I'm also curious to know what you think about the poll results, how our audience is currently using technology to capture and analyze data.
So I'm thrilled to hear about being able to take advantage of having a system that immediately starts the offloading process as soon as the camera starts recording. They don't, you don't have to take it back to, headquarters or a specific room, dock the particular camera, and then sit there and patiently wait as you twiddle your thumbs to be able to even have access to the data. I mean, it is immediate offload. It starts within the first 60 seconds of the camera starting to record. And then that whole live streaming, I'm super excited that this is a very advantageous capability that Elkhart is taking advantage of, and not just doing it in critical situations, but hearing that they'll have the officer start a recording and then be able to talk them through, and they could see it there in real time what that officer or what officers on scene are seeing. And that's just whether it's via patrol or road or in the corrections facility, it would translate exactly the same. So that's super exciting. With regards to the poll questions, I'm not surprised. I know that many organizations are trying to transition to being as paperless as they can and taking advantage of cloud storage to be able to house their data and their information. Not only does that help them have things in a secure environment, it's also an access efficiency tool, right? Being able to take advantage of search filters and things like that in the platform to quickly get their hands on information that they need right away versus filtering through whether it's watching items on thumb drives or DVDs or filtering through, paper and folders and file cabinets. Just being able to take advantage of the cloud system to easily access what they need. I think that's the way folks are going, and it's just a transition phase. So I'm glad to hear that folks are already on that trajectory to take that leap.
I agree. All right. And so we'll go ahead and move on to our next segment, Susan, where you recap our values and benefits of our utility universe of technology.
Sure, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. I think these gentlemen said it all. I was really encouraged in hearing how the system is being used, the benefits that are being taken advantage of, and some of the ways they are using this to ensure safety of their personnel is just, it's fantastic to hear it. Again, body cameras, if you're not using them, highly encourage you as an organization to consider using them. It is an unbiased capture of information, so there's no he said, she said kind of thing. It's right there. You can watch it, and it is what it is. Being able to integrate your IP cameras that you already have existing in your facility to now create a single pane of glass view is huge. That swivel chair, man, that's a time saver, right? Not having to go from system to system to be able to just to view what's going on in your facility. It's all right there in one particular platform. That single pane of glass, it also extends just beyond the viewing, right? You can do all you need to do in one place, and that is straight from the collection all the way through the management of that data through to sharing outside of your organization to those that need that information. It's all in one place for you. And then, of course, being able to do everything you need to do in a secure manner and having that chain of custody capability within it to be able to ensure that you have full detail of what has gone on with that particular piece of evidence, that file, or that case that you may be building to be able to share over to an attorney. It's all huge. And just utility we focus on, it's not just about ease of use, but our focus is on safety, our focus is on efficiency, and we truly see our clients as partners and as family, and our interaction with them, we want to make sure that it doesn't get lost because they help us make a better system for everyone to be able to take advantage of. So I really appreciate the gentleman here today being able to share their cases, or their case study, their use cases, and providing their feedback for us. Thank you very much.
All right, Susan, thank you so much for that recap of today's insights. At this time, I'd like to invite our audience to ask our panel of experts any questions they would like to have answered. Take this time to look at your GoToWebinar control panel and type your questions, and our team will address them now. While we wait for you to send in your questions, we did get a question during this webinar that we'll go ahead and address from Kristen, and this question says, you mentioned sharing data evidence via thumb drive / DVD or emailing the footage. Does utility have a more seamless way of sharing data, something more instant? Susan, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely. In the imagery that I showed you of our platform and the case there, we have the ability to share files and cases securely from our platform directly to a recipient. And it packages them up and provides the recipient an email, which they click on a link, and it does some verification, authentication, and securely allows access to that recipient. So not only is it that secure sharing piece, our system is also capturing the fact that that information was sent to a recipient, who it was sent to, and when it was sent, and then even when they download the files or the case information onto their local machine. So everything is in one place, everything is secure, everything is tracked for audit purposes. It's all available standard in one system. Great question.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne. All right, we're here waiting to see if anyone else has any more questions. And we just got one from Duman. And he's asking, any plans for utilizing AI for pre-incident or post-incident use cases? Thank you. Suzanne?
So that is one area that utility is dedicated to. We have some AI-driven tools for post management and analysis of footage for case management. From a AI pre-incident tool, we are heavily working on that as well to be able to identify certain instances, for example, of activity, or being able to identify was there, from an activity standpoint, was it a person that has entered the facility, or the room? Was it a light change that may have triggered that camera to identify activity? What is that? And then, of course, the list just continues to grow. AI can be a very powerful tool in being able to help identify what's going on, not just in pre-incident activity, but also post. You know, you think about if you have footage, an interview room. I believe one of the sheriffs was talking about potentially using the interview room solution from utility, being able to take that potentially hours long of footage and say, I want to know when this particular person did a shift in their eyes, or you know, were they looking in a certain direction, which may potentially, from a physiological perspective, were they thinking, were they not telling the truth? AI can just bring so much potential to helping folks that are investigating something be able to identify information quickly. And utility believes that taking advantage of AI tools pre and post are key. So constantly something that we are adding into our solution set.
Thank you, Susan. And we got another question from Salah. And he says, hi, joined the webinar late. Will the presentation be shared for us to be able to catch up? And sending questions after the webinar? Yes, we will be sending all of our registrants a link to watch this webinar on demand as soon as it's available. Regarding questions, if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email at info@utility.com. It's going to be on the next slide, so you can jot that down and shoot us any questions you have, and we'll direct you to our experts that can answer them. All righty. Any more questions for our panel of experts while we have them on? They're here to share their wealth of information about how they're using technology to improve safety and transparency. So please feel free to type your questions in right now and we'll address them.
Casey, I think,
oh, go ahead.
Casey, I think that there's also a couple of different things that, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, we've started using some of our video clips for training. We get a lot of young officers in, so the good scenarios and maybe some of the scenarios that we need to work on, we've started to use those in our training. And the download, the instantly, you know, we really push out on the reports. So if you have an incident report prior to you leaving shift, we require for all of that documentation, all of that report writing, everything to be in there. Their sergeants then go and capture the video and then put it in our jail management. So before we leave shift, everything in that incident is all inside there. And I think that that is a big key. And we've trained our officers that they do a really, really, really good job of that. So nothing's lost. It's all in time that day. And it just is, utility has made a big difference for us with that because it's just instantaneously it's downloaded.
I'm glad our technology was able to make things efficient and transparent for your agency. I think that's the whole focus for utility, as Susan was saying, just ensuring that we have their officers relying on technology because they're so focused on what they're doing on the field. The last thing they can remember is to, I don't know, turn on a body camera or whatever device they have. If we're able to save them time and keep them safe, I think we're doing a great job. All right, I'll just give you guys one more minute to share any questions you might have. If not, if you have the question popping up after the webinar, you can definitely shoot us an email at info@utility.com and we'll direct you to the correct expert to answer that question. All right. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar. Again, if you have any follow-up questions that you'd like to answer, please email us at info@utility.com. To each of our experts on the panel today, thank you for participating in today's webinar and sharing your insight with our audience. Our team will be sharing this webinar recording on demand once it's available, so stay tuned and check your email for that later. We'll also welcome your feedback in our post-webinar survey launching after this webinar concludes. So definitely stay tuned for that as well. We'd love to hear your feedback on how we did today. On behalf of the entire team at Utility, thank you for making the time to join us. Stay well, and we hope to see you at our next webinar event.